Well, thank you, Penny. You know, Penny Nance has just been such an example to all of us. I know all of you love her, and I know that Sherry Mandel, you know, a lot of you guys just work together to really press the agenda of Concerned Women for America. You know, it's kind of interesting because one of the very first speeches I gave when I was running for office many years ago was to Concerned Women for America. And it's always been wonderful to point to you all as an example when the other side's constantly saying that they represent American womanhood, if you will. And I just am so grateful to you all. And I know that that's sort of the appropriate thing to do here is to try to flatter every group that you speak to. But I want you to understand that whether I ever got the endorsement of people like you, I always have a deep, abiding endorsement for you. And I'm grateful to you beyond words. This 2012 is a destiny-shaping year. I know that it's probably what every politician says. They say there's never been a more important election. But folks, there has never been in my lifetime a more important election. It is critical beyond words. Like many of you, the life issue, it was what caused me to get into the political arena. I never would have done so otherwise. And yet now we see ourselves in the dynamic struggle of our time, and it is so significant. And I think that, you know, throughout America's history, we've struggled to fulfill that conviction in our Declaration that all of us are created with unalienable rights. And it took a civil war in this nation to make the 7,000-year-old institution of slavery disappear. And ultimately that happened across the world. Of course, American women fought to overcome the mindless policy that disallowed them to vote. And this nation charged into Europe and arrested the hellish Nazi Holocaust. We crushed the Ku Klux Klan, and we prevailed in the dark days of our own civil rights struggle in America. So in many ways, America is replete with examples of how we've overcome civil rights tragedies. But there is great work to be done because the civil rights issue of our time is this tragic slaughter of 4,000 children every day in our country. And, you know, I guess it's not going to shock you. But I hope all of you, if you forget everything else I've said today, understand that if we don't change presidents, what we've worked for most of our lives will be diminished demonstrably, maybe for our lifetime. This president is the abortion president. There's been no president so pro-abortion as this one, and nothing is a darker stain on this administration. Nothing vitiates entirely their argument that they are for the little guy. Nothing completely dismisses them of having human compassion than this notion that killing your child or killing an unborn child is just as a matter of rights that belong in America. Nothing does that more, and we need to understand that. If we care about the unborn, I will say to you that we must make sure that the greatest adversary in America and the world that the unborn have is Barack Obama, and we need to send him in a different direction. And you know, I've often asked myself, I said, what is it that changes people's hearts? What is it that changes their minds? And I've written different pieces of legislation to try to exemplify the equation of the past where people's hearts change, whether it was slavery, whatever it might be. And it seems like that the thing we had to do was to demonstrate the humanity of the victim and the inhumanity of what is done to the victim. And to that end, I will just quickly tell you about two pieces of legislation that are coming before the Constitution Committee. That one of them already has, but there will be, you'll hear further about it, I promise. Penny mentioned the Prenatal Non-Discrimination Act. It simply says that you cannot subject an unborn child to discrimination by subjecting them to an abortion based on their sex or race. Now, it's an 89% issue when people listen to it. But it has a way of making us see the issue in a different way, and it divides the opposition in a big way. And it is something that is a little hard to explain in a short period of time. But let me suggest to you, it creates a tremendous dynamic for us to really demonstrate the insanity that we would kill a little child and that somehow we forget their humanity. Now, the Democrats have said, well, you know, Trent Franks has been a pro-life activist his whole adult life, and that's true. and that he has a bigger agenda. Absolutely right. We do. I hope that someday, that if we begin to debate whether it's okay to kill a little person because they're a little girl or because they're African American or Hispanic, when we debate that, we might begin to ask the question, is it okay to kill a little baby because it's a little baby? And maybe that will begin to turn the hearts of the American people. I hope so. And we're also going to be dealing with the pain-capable bill. And that would simply say it's sort of a strategic thing, but the ultimate end, the goal here, whether the other side accuses us of politics or not, is to somehow wake the American people up to the reality and the suffering of these little children. And the pain-capable bill is focused on Washington, D.C., so that we avoid all of the constitutional battles that they always say, well, you don't have a right to do that. In Washington, D.C., even Barack Obama is going to have a hard time saying that because the Congress is, the seminal authority in Washington, D.C. And it simply says that you cannot abort a child who has reached the age where they can definitely feel pain. Now, they can feel pain much earlier than 20 weeks, but at 20 weeks, no medical authority argues that fact. None. And that's why we've done it. And I want you to know, I think it has some serious implications because this president has voted for a bill that would allow the killing of children after they're born. After they're born. He's voted for it twice when he was in the state legislature. And this is going to make him have to face the issue directly. And as Joe Pitt said, he is a master of turning things around. One of the great rhetorical strengths this president has is he considers himself fundamentally unconstrained by the truth. And that was a good one. But we need to understand that. And we also need to work on other people every day. Now let me kind of try to wrap this up here a little bit. I don't understand all what it takes to turn people's hearts, but I know it's happening in America, especially among the young people. I think part of it is the technologies that have begun to show these little babies, I have to be careful here because I got 3-year-old twins. I'm going to start talking about one of them. My wife and I struggled for 20 years to have children, and God sent us 3 little twins. 2 little 3-year-olds, not 3 of them. And they are the light of my soul, And I was listening to YouTube videos with my little girl around Thanksgiving, and she taught me a profound lesson. She likes to see the little laughing baby videos. I roll on the floor laughing at babies laughing. And I inadvertently clicked on one of the videos that had a depiction of a little guy from China that had no arms, but had learned to play the piano with his feet. Beautiful. And it was such a magnificent example of how you can overcome things and how disability doesn't dehumanize you. And I looked at my little girl, I said, isn't that amazing, Gracie? He's playing the piano with his feet. And she's 3 and is as smart as a 12-year-old. And she said, but Daddy, she had little wet eyes. She said, he doesn't have any arms. And I said, I know, baby, it's kind of sad. She said, oh, Daddy, it is sad. We got to get some arms and give it to him. We just got to help him. We just got to. And I said, well, baby, arms are hooked onto other people already, and there's really not any extra ones. And she said, well, can we give him one of mine if it will fit on him? See, she saw the situation differently than I did. I saw a little guy that had overcome difficult circumstances. And she saw a fellow human being that didn't have any arms. I wanted to give him one of hers. And so I said, you want to give him one of yours? She said, yes, Dad, because he doesn't have any arms. And I finally said, well, baby, yours won't fit on him, because that was one of the prerequisites. She said, can we give him one of mine if it will fit on him? But you see, I think that somehow that is the real struggle that we have, is to help people understand that all of us, no matter who we are. We needed somebody at one time, and we shall again. And this life is a miracle that beggars human description or understanding. It is amazing beyond words, and it seems like those of us that live in it are the ones that miss that. But it is an amazing circumstance. And this year, we have a chance, I think, to change the direction of history for the unborn. And we have got to succeed. We can't do our best. We've got to do what it takes. I will just tell you openly, I'm not asking, I know that CWA doesn't endorse people, but I'm going to tell all of you personally that whoever comes out of the primary, I will take out legal adoption papers on them, whatever it is. So I encourage you to keep your eyes open in that regard and help you understand how serious this battle is. And I close with a little depiction of a 1588 situation when Queen Elizabeth's army was faced with an invading armada from King Philip's. His entire navy was coming, and Queen Elizabeth's army was severely outnumbered. It was a serious situation. It could have been the end of England, as it were. And she knew it was serious. And she came out personally to speak to the army. And again, this is depicted in the movie. They probably took a little poetic or historic license with it. But she said, "My loving friends, we see the sails of the enemy approaching. We hear the sound of the guns over the water. Soon now, we will meet them face to face. I am come out here to live or die amongst you all. While we stand together, no enemy will pass. Let them come with the armies of hell. They will not pass. And when this day of battle is ended, we meet again in heaven or the field of victory." And I really believe that that's our equation today. I don't know what will happen in this next election. I do know that if Mr. Obama wins, we will see our national security in profound disarray. We will see Iran gain nuclear weapons, and all of us will step into the shadow of nuclear terrorism. We will see our economy taken in the direction of a European socialist mindset that we may never extract ourselves from. Most importantly, we will see the Constitution and the right to live abrogated for perhaps as long as we live. Because he will put Supreme Court justices on the court that simply have no fealty to that Constitution. So the battle is beyond my ability to articulate the importance. And I hope all of you will go home with that thought. And I pray by the grace of God that we meet here next year on the field of victory.